Imagine waking up to the news that two of the world's most stable democracies are quietly strengthening ties in a way that could reshape global influence, not through loud announcements or dramatic headlines, but through careful diplomacy, strategic conversations, and long-term planning. That's exactly what seems to be happening right now as Canada's Prime Minister visits Australia. At first glance, it may look like just another routine international trip. Leaders travel all the time, shake hands, attend meetings, and speak at press conferences. But sometimes, behind those meetings, are decisions that slowly shift the balance of power in the world. And today, many analysts are asking a very important question. Why is this Canada-Australia connection becoming stronger right now? And what could it mean for the future of global power? Before we go deeper, if you enjoy calm, clear breakdowns of global politics like this one, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Maple and Eagle. It really helps the channel grow and lets us continue bringing you stories that explain the bigger picture behind the headlines. Now, let's look at the bigger context. Canada and Australia are not strangers. In fact, their relationship goes back decades. Both countries are members of the Commonwealth, both share democratic values, and both have strong ties with the United States and other Western allies. They cooperate on trade, security, and intelligence through partnerships like the Five Eyes Alliance. But even though these countries have always been friendly, something interesting is happening now. Their cooperation seems to be getting more focused, more strategic, and possibly more important in a rapidly changing world. The world today is very different from what it was even 10 years ago. Global politics is shifting. New economic powers are rising, trade routes are changing, and countries are looking for reliable partners in uncertain times. In this environment, middle powers like Canada and Australia are realizing that cooperation between them can create stability and influence far beyond their individual borders. Together, they control massive natural resources, strong economies, and strategic positions in two important regions of the world. Canada sits in North America, deeply connected to the United States, but also increasingly involved in global trade across Europe and Asia. Australia, on the other hand, is positioned in the Indo-Pacific region, one of the most economically dynamic and strategically important areas in the world today. By strengthening ties, these two countries essentially create a bridge between two powerful regions of global influence. Think about it this way. Canada brings strong energy resources, advanced technology sectors, and deep trade networks across the Atlantic. Australia brings critical minerals, strong ties with Asian economies, and a growing role in Indo-Pacific security discussions. When these strengths combine through partnerships, investment deals, and diplomatic cooperation, the result can be far more significant than most people realize. Another important factor is economic security. Around the world, governments are becoming more careful about where their supply chains come from. Critical minerals, clean energy resources, and advanced manufacturing materials are becoming extremely valuable. Australia happens to be one of the world's largest producers of several important minerals used in modern technology, from electric vehicles to renewable energy systems. Canada also has significant resources and advanced research capabilities in these sectors. So when leaders from both countries meet, they are not just discussing trade numbers. They are discussing the future building blocks of the global economy. At the same time, security cooperation is also part of the conversation. The Indo-Pacific region has become a major focus for global strategy. Countries are paying closer attention to stability in that area, maritime security, and maintaining open trade routes. Australia already plays a central role in many of these discussions, working closely with partners like the United States and the United Kingdom. Canada has also been increasing its engagement in the region. Strengthening ties between Canada and Australia could mean deeper cooperation on security, intelligence sharing, and regional stability. What makes the situation even more interesting is how quietly these developments are happening. Unlike dramatic political rivalries that dominate headlines, partnerships like this often grow gradually. Leaders meet, agreements are discussed, trade frameworks are updated, and cooperation expands step by step. Over time, these quiet moves can shape international politics in powerful ways. And that's exactly why analysts and observers are paying attention to this visit. It may look simple on the surface, but in global diplomacy, timing is everything. When leaders travel across the world to meet trusted partners, it usually means there are conversations happening that go far beyond the official speeches. For Canada, building stronger ties with Australia could mean expanding influence in the Indo-Pacific while maintaining strong relationships with traditional allies. For Australia, deeper cooperation with Canada could open new economic opportunities and strengthen partnerships with another stable democratic nation that shares similar values and long-term interests. The real question now is how far this cooperation could go. Could it lead to new trade agreements, technology partnerships, or joint initiatives in global security? Could Canada and Australia become even stronger partners in shaping the future of energy, resources, and regional stability? Those possibilities are exactly what make this moment so fascinating to watch. And as we continue to explore what this growing connection might mean for the world, the next part of this story becomes even more interesting, because the global reactions to this partnership could reveal a lot about how international power is quietly evolving. As we continue looking at this growing connection between Canada and Australia, it is important to understand that global alliances today are no longer as simple as they used to be. In the past, many countries relied heavily on one or two major partners for trade, security, and political cooperation. But the world has changed. Today, smart nations are building wider networks of trusted relationships so they are not dependent on a single country or region. And this is where the Canada-Australia partnership starts to make even more sense. Both countries are considered what analysts call middle powers. They are not the largest military or economic giants in the world, but they are stable, wealthy, and highly respected nations with strong democratic systems. When middle powers work together, they can sometimes create surprising influence. Their strength comes from cooperation, diplomacy, and the ability to connect different regions of the world. Canada and Australia share a lot more similarities than people often realize. Both countries have large land areas but relatively small populations compared to their size. Both depend heavily on trade, natural resources, and strong international relationships. And both understand that maintaining stability in the global system is important for their long-term prosperity. That shared understanding often makes cooperation easier and more natural. One area where this partnership could become especially powerful is energy and natural resources. The world is currently going through a major transition toward cleaner energy. Governments and companies are investing billions of dollars into renewable power, electric vehicles, and advanced battery technology. But here not is something many people don't realize. All of these technologies require huge amounts of critical minerals like lithium, nickel, cobalt, and rare earth elements. Australia happens to be one of the world's leading producers of several of these minerals. Canada, meanwhile, has large reserves of its own and a strong reputation for responsible mining and advanced resource development. If these two countries coordinate their strategies, they could become key players in the global supply chain for future technologies. That means their cooperation is not just about today's economy, but about shaping industries that will dominate the next 20 or 30 years. Another factor driving this relationship is the idea of economic resilience. Over the last few years, global events have shown how fragile supply chains can be. When major disruptions happen, countries suddenly realize how dependent they are on certain imports. Because of this, governments are now looking for reliable partners that share similar values and economic standards. Canada and Australia fit that description perfectly for each other. By increasing trade, investment, and cooperation, they reduce risks and strengthen their economic security. Security and defense cooperation may also become a bigger part of this partnership. The Indo-Pacific region continues to grow in global importance, not just economically, but strategically as well. Australia already plays an important role in regional security discussions, while Canada has been showing greater interest in contributing to stability in that area. Working together could allow both countries to share resources, intelligence, and diplomatic influence in ways that benefit their broader alliances. Of course, whenever countries strengthen their partnerships, the rest of the world pays attention. Large nations watch these developments carefully because alliances often signal future strategies. When two stable democracies like Canada and Australia deepen cooperation, it usually sends a message about shared priorities, economic alignment, and long-term planning. At the same time, this growing connection does not necessarily mean confrontation with anyone. In modern diplomacy, partnerships are often about opportunity rather than rivalry. Countries cooperate to build stronger economies, support innovation, and create stable trade environments. In many cases, these partnerships simply reflect the reality that the world is becoming more interconnected and complex. Another interesting aspect of the Canada-Australia relationship is the cultural connection between the two nations. Both societies are known for their openness, multicultural populations, and strong educational institutions. This cultural similarity makes collaboration easier not only at the government level, but also between businesses, universities, and technology companies. Innovation partnerships, research exchanges, and startup cooperation could all become part of this evolving relationship. And when leaders meet during official visits, these discussions often go far beyond politics. They include conversations about technology, climate solutions, education, digital industries, and infrastructure development. All of these areas have the potential to strengthen economic growth for both countries. But perhaps the most interesting part of this story is how quietly it is unfolding. Major global shifts don't always come from dramatic events. Sometimes they happen slowly through meetings, agreements, and partnerships that gradually reshape how countries work together. The visit we are seeing now could be one of those moments that seems routine today but becomes more significant in hindsight. For viewers here on Maple and Eagle, this is exactly why it's important to watch these developments closely. The headlines might focus on short-term political drama, But long-term global influence is often built through partnerships like this one. Canada and Australia may be thousands of miles apart geographically, but strategically they may be moving closer together than ever before. And that brings us to the most important question. What could this partnership actually mean for the future global balance of power? And how might other countries respond if this cooperation continues to grow? Because the final piece of this story might reveal why analysts around the world are paying more attention to this relationship than ever before. So what could all of this actually lead to in the long run? When analysts talk about shifting global influence, they rarely mean sudden dramatic changes. Instead, they look for patterns. They watch how countries build partnerships, how trade routes evolve, and how diplomatic cooperation slowly grows stronger over time. And when we look at the relationship between Canada and Australia, the pattern becomes clearer. Two stable, resource-rich, democratic nations are quietly increasing cooperation at a moment when the global system itself is becoming more uncertain. One possible outcome is deeper economic integration. If the conversations happening during this visit lead to new trade frameworks or investment agreements, businesses in both countries could benefit in significant ways. Canadian companies might gain easier access to markets across the Indo-Pacific through Australia, while Australian businesses could expand further into North American and European networks through Canada. That kind of economic bridge between regions can create opportunities not just for governments, but for entrepreneurs, researchers, and industries on both sides. Technology cooperation could also become an important part of this partnership. Canada has a growing reputation in fields like artificial intelligence, clean technology, and advanced research. Australia, meanwhile, has been investing heavily in innovation, defense technology, and digital infrastructure. When countries with strong research systems collaborate, the results can be powerful. Joint research projects, university partnerships, and private sector collaborations could lead to breakthroughs that benefit both economies for decades. Another area that could grow stronger is energy cooperation. The world is moving toward cleaner and more sustainable energy sources, but the transition is complex. It requires not only new technology, but also reliable access to the materials needed to build that technology. As mentioned earlier, Australia is rich in critical minerals, and Canada has both resources and advanced expertise in responsible energy development. By working together, these countries could help build supply chains that support the global shift toward renewable energy while also strengthening their own economies. But beyond economics and technology, there is also a broader diplomatic impact to consider. When countries with similar political values work closely together, they often become stronger voices in international discussions. Canada and Australia both promote democratic governance, open trade, and multilateral cooperation. If their partnership continues to deepen, they could coordinate their positions on global issues ranging from climate policy to international security. That kind of coordination can amplify their influence on the world stage. At the same time, it's important to remember that global relationships are rarely simple. Every new partnership exists within a complex network of alliances and interests. Canada has deep ties with the United States and Europe, while Australia maintains strong relationships across Asia and the Pacific. Strengthening cooperation between Canada and Australia doesn't need to replace those connections. It simply adds another layer of stability and opportunity within the global system. And that may actually be the most important takeaway from this entire story. In today's unpredictable world, countries are looking for reliable partners. Nations that share similar values, economic priorities, and long-term goals naturally find ways to work more closely together. Canada and Australia appear to be doing exactly that. Their leaders meet, their industries collaborate, and their diplomatic strategies slowly align in ways that could shape future global conversations. For many viewers, these kinds of developments might not seem dramatic at first. There are no loud confrontations or shocking headlines. But history often shows that the most meaningful geopolitical changes begin quietly. A visit between leaders leads to new agreements. Agreements lead to deeper cooperation. And over time, those partnerships begin to influence trade, technology, and security across entire regions. That's why moments like this are worth paying attention to. They help us understand where the world might be heading before the big headlines arrive. And here on Maple and Eagle, that's exactly what we try to do. Look beyond the surface of daily news and explore the deeper forces shaping global politics. Now I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think the growing cooperation between Canada and Australia could become a major partnership in the future? Or do you believe it will remain a smaller diplomatic relationship? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Your perspective really matters, and these discussions often bring out insights that many viewers hadn't considered. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to share this video with someone who follows international politics or global news. Conversations like this become even more interesting when more people join the discussion. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to Maple and Eagle so you don't miss the next analysis. We'll continue exploring the stories behind global decisions, alliances, and power moves that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.